Hi everybody, my name is Louise Roberts and I'm a senior lecturer in social work at Cardiff University, and I'm also part of Cascade, which is the Children's Social Care Research and Development Centre.
Hi, and I'm Rachel Vaughan and I'm the engagement manager at the Cascade Research Centre, and it's my job to involve people with lived experience, so children, young people, parents and carers, in the research and the impact projects that we do.
So today, the title of our presentation is Empowering Care Experienced Parents, a Good Practice Charter and Supporting Resources. So I'm going to start by giving a bit of background to this work and talking about the research that underpins it. And then we're going to talk through our ongoing work, which has been geared to encouraging change and progress. So to give you some background, between 2014 and 2019, I undertook a 5-year research study looking at what happens when young people in a leaving state care become parents. In any presentation that I do, I always say the idea didn't come from me sat in my office. It came from young people connected to Voices from Care Cymru. Voices from Care Cymru is a national organisation in Wales dedicated to the needs and championing the rights of care experienced children, young people and adults. So young people connected to Voices from Care Cymru were becoming concerned with the support that was available for parents. So they were seeing young people go on to start families of their own, and in some cases that was a really positive experience, but in too many instances they felt that young people weren't being properly supported, and in some cases were becoming separated from their children. So they were really keen that some independent research was conducted to see if that anecdotal evidence that they were seeing was indicative of a wider problem. So my study involved various different phases or stages. It involved interviews with parents looking back on their experiences, as well as following parents just after they'd had a child and sort of keeping in touch with them periodically over the course of 12 to 18 months. It involved interviews with professionals. So as part of this phase, I engaged with every leaving care service across Wales. So in Wales, we have 22 local authorities, and each of them agreed to be part of the study. I also wanted to provide a snapshot of current parents. So in Wales, we don't have statistics that tell us how many parents in a leaving care we have each year, and we don't have any information about those families and whether children and parents are together or whether they're separated. So I wanted to provide a snapshot of current parents and look at the legal status and living arrangements of children. And for that phase, 20 out of the 22 local authorities participated. And in addition, we conducted some secondary analysis of existing national data sets within Wales, and I'll say a bit more about that shortly. If you are interested in learning more about the study, obviously we're limited on time today. But the picture on the right-hand side of the screen is the front cover of my book, which was published in March 2021. The book is free to download, and we'll share with you a link where you can download it. And as I said, it contains all of the details, all of the different stages of the study and the findings. So to give you a sort of a flavour of the key issues that came from the research, we highlighted some important data in regards to outcomes, experiences and perspectives and support. So with outcomes, we found concerning levels of separation between children and parents. In terms of experiences, we found widespread stigma, examples of discrimination and disadvantage. And in terms of support, we found that support was variable and underdeveloped across Wales. I think it's important to say that these findings are not unique to Wales, and the references that I've included at the bottom of the slide are all reviews of the evidence, and the issues that have arisen over the course of my study are consistent with some of the concerns and the issues that have been raised internationally. So to give you some examples of the key findings, in terms of outcomes, as I said, we wanted to provide a snapshot of current parents in Wales. So this phase was conducted in 2017, and we had data from 20 out of the 22 local authorities in Wales. And I asked each of those that participated to identify the number of parents from the young people that were open to their service. So we identified 258 parents aged between 16 and 21, and 238 children and 44 ongoing pregnancies. So when we identified the parents, I asked a series of questions about the children and their legal status and living arrangements. And what we found was that 26% of children, so 1 in 4, were separated from both birth parents. So 10% were in the care of the local authority, 9% had been adopted, and a further 7% were living with friends and family. Now, as I said, we don't have statistics annually to compare this figure with, but if we think that in Wales, around 1% of children are recorded as being in care each year, yet 26% of children born to care experienced parents were separated from them, 10%, as I said, being in local authority care, then the disparity, becomes clear. In addition, I said we did some secondary analysis of existing data sets. One of those was the Wales adoption study. This study was led by Professor Catherine Shelton in the School of Psychology at Cardiff University, and it captured every child that was placed for adoption in Wales between July 2014 and July 2015. So within the data set, we had 374 child adoption record forms, and we looked at those forms again to see how many birth parents were recorded as care leavers. And what we found was that 1 in 4 birth mothers were recorded as care leavers and 1 in 5 birth fathers. And again, I don't have statistics that we can compare these findings to, but if we think that 1% of children are recorded as being in care each year, such a small population, for them to then make up such sizable numbers of birth parents who are subject to the highest level of state intervention in family life, the concerning nature of these findings becomes clearer. To give you some examples of the data that we generated from professionals talk to us about really stigmatized views of parents. And they talked about a propensity to question young people's parenting capacity based on their past experiences. So the idea was that you didn't experience good parenting, therefore you don't know what it is to be a good parent. And those concerns, could be present initially when a young person is expecting a child, but also that, to stay with them as they are parents. In addition, we found evidence of systemic disadvantage. So professionals talked about young people, care experienced parents being increasingly likely to experience assessment and scrutiny as parents. So this was most apparent when young people, first disclosed that they were expecting a child. So a minority of local authorities said that they had a policy where they would automatically refer young people for an assessment at that point based on their case status. In contrast, another minority of authorities said that they used to do that. That used to be their practice to automatically refer young people for an assessment. However, they didn't do that anymore because they recognized that that was discrimination. But most commonly, Professionals said that, even though you wouldn't find it written down anywhere, there was an expectation from senior management that they would be referred to children's services for an assessment. That's reflected in the quote on the right-hand side. So as a way of managing risk, young people would automatically be referred for a parenting assessment. And then finally, in terms of support, we found that young people often had uncertain and disadvantaged access to support. So professionals repeatedly emphasised the importance of having informal support available. That idea of having somebody by your side to go through what is, a really challenging, exciting, but challenging time in anybody's life when they become a parent. However, they felt that, for young people who had that informal support, who had access to partners or partners' families, or their own family in some instances, that really strengthened and boosted their chances of success as parents. But for those young people who didn't have access to informal support and who were much more reliant on formal sources of support, that it was a really poor substitute from what you'd ordinarily expect to be available from birth families. So the quote on the right-hand side of the screen is from a team manager who says, "We need to have a better understanding and recognition in terms of what they would do for their own children when they're parents. The support that they would provide." I guess it's those little things that a lot of people take for granted, the care leavers don't have the opportunity to have, really, which makes it twice as hard for them. So I've talked quite a bit and tried to give you some examples of the findings from the research. The video that I'm going to show you now summarises the findings from the parents that participated in the research.
When young people in and leaving care become parents. This film summarises findings of a 5-year research study undertaken at Cascade, Cardiff University. Parents talked about their difficult childhoods and wanted better experiences for their children.
I never wanted my kids to grow up like I grew up. My kids are going to want to come home. My kids are going to know that I'm here for them. My kids are going to know right from wrong and that I love them.
Despite wanting to be good parents, young people were often worried about social workers being involved. These worries were often present throughout the pregnancy and after giving birth.
The first thing that came into my mind was social services. I have had worries over social services, obviously, and thinking of them taking the baby off me.
Many parents were referred for an assessment. Some developed positive relationships with social workers and felt supported, but others felt judged and stigmatised because of their care experience.
With my son, the social workers knew everything about my time in care, but they kind of used it against me because they see it as, well, if your birth parents did this with you, you're most likely to do it as well, and that wasn't the case.
Parents often needed help caring for a child. Many also needed help with housing, finances, relationships, ongoing health issues, and education or work. While some parents had partners, family members, friends, or carers to help them, others were on their own and reliant on their corporate parents. However, professional support was often limited and only available in office hours. This left parents feeling isolated, exhausted, and overwhelmed.
I'd never been on my own with a baby before. I was quite frightened. I didn't have any family to turn to, and she wasn't sleeping very well, and I just needed a break.
For some parents, the challenges were too much and they became separated from their children.
It feels horrible because I know there's things I could have done differently, but I was a child myself. I needed help and support, and I wasn't getting it. The day they took the baby off me, I collapsed on the floor. I cried and I cried and I cried. It's made me have mental health problems. It's affected the rest of my life.
For those who were able to continue caring for children despite adversity, Being a parent had the potential to be rewarding and fulfilling.
I look at my kids as being my life fixers, really, because they've done such a big thing for me. I don't see myself as being that person anymore. I feel like a new person now.
We want all young people in and leaving care to feel happy and supported as parents. For further details of the research study and ongoing work, please visit our website.
Jen was one of the parents that you heard speaking in that short film. She has been involved in the research since the very beginning. She was one of the people that said that this research should happen. She supported it all the way through, and she continues to work with us now. She's absolutely fantastic. And when we got to the end of the research, she sort of made a plea to us and said that the research couldn't be the end point, that something positive, some positive change had to come as a result for all of that work. So she inspired us to continue to apply for funding, impact funding, trying to disseminate the research, raise awareness, but also to generate positive change. So our project is called Supporting Parents in and Leaving Care, #messages to corporate parents. It is funded by the ESRC Impact Acceleration Account, and it's been running from January 2021. It's due to complete in March this year, but Rachel and I have plans to continue applying for further funding. Just before I continue, I should say that corporate parenting is a term that we use in Wales and is familiar across the UK. It is a term that refers to the collective responsibility of public bodies, so local authorities and key partner agencies such as health and education. And it is their responsibility to safeguard and promote the rights and the life chances of children and young people in care. So we were aware that there were opportunities to strengthen corporate parenting. We were aware of positive developments from the third sector in terms of strengthening support for care experienced parents. We were aware of some peer support groups that had developed, and we were aware of Project Unity, which is a fantastic project available across Wales, which offers advocacy and holistic support for care experienced mothers. We saw that there was opportunity to strengthen corporate parenting support, and we worked with parents, two groups of parents, to produce a good practice charter. So two groups of parents supported by Voices from Care Cymru and NIAS Cymru. I'll share with you the charter shortly, but when we were developing the charter and thinking through what we wanted to be available to parents across Wales, we repeatedly consulted with professionals in the statutory and third sector to get their feedback, because what we wanted to do was create a document that would ensure meaningful change and really positive support for young people. But we also wanted to produce something that was achievable and realistic in terms of the really challenging time that it is currently for children's services and other public services across Wales. The charter, the image that you can see on the right-hand side of the screen is our leaflet version. So that's designed to be an accessible summary of the charter that parents can engage with themselves, or it can be used as a resource to support professionals in explaining the charter and its commitments to young people. The charter has been really positively received across Wales. So every local authority has engaged with us. There's a map on our webpage that shows the progress of the charter, and all local authorities, all 22, are either in the process of signing up to the charter or have adopted it already. The Charter has also generated interest from other countries. So Harrow Council in England was the first to sign off on the Charter. We are actively involved with organisations in Scotland and Northern Ireland. We've done some additional consultations with parents there to ensure that the Charter is acceptable and is relevant to their context, and we have an ongoing work plan to promote it there. And all of our materials have been translated into Italian, and again we've consulted with a parents group or a care experience group there to develop a plan for promoting it across Italy. So this is our charter. This is the poster version of the Charter. We also have a full version that has space for signatories. I know it's quite difficult to read the text on this graphic, but it is split into different sections. So the Charter, over the course of working with young people over this sort of extended process, we didn't really know what the Charter was going to look like initially, and we sort of started off with some sort of aspirational statements, which, you know, the parents felt that we needed more detail. We really needed to pin down what it was we were asking corporate parents to commit to. And so in the end, we created a charter with different sections, and they cover the support that should be available to parents before parenthood, the support that should be available when parents are expecting a child or when they're parenting, the support that should be available if concerns are raised about parenting, and the charter should make a commitment to challenging stigma and discrimination. So the leaflet version, the full version, and this poster version are all available to download on the websites there, and we'll also share these again at the end. But as I said, it's quite difficult to share the detail on a slide. So we have another short video that sort of explains the Charter and the different commitments.
As corporate parents, we are committed to supporting mothers and fathers who are in care or in the process of leaving care. This Charter sets out what we will do to help you plan for being a parent, how we will support when you become a parent, and what we will do to challenge stigma and discrimination. We'll be there for you before you start a family to discuss healthy relationships and help you prepare for being a parent. During pregnancy, the health and well-being of expectant mothers and babies is our priority. We are also committed to supporting the well-being and inclusion of fathers. Everyone is different. Some parents will need little support, while others will need more help. We'll make sure you have the things you need. You know your rights and entitlements, who is available to support you, and what services are available. Parents in and leaving care can experience stigma and discrimination. This is unacceptable. We will make clear that referrals to children's services should not be based on care status. If concerns are raised about parenting, we will work with you and be honest with you. We will make sure you have access to advocacy and legal advice. We will support you to respond to concerns. Make sure you are treated fairly, with your rights respected. If your child has been removed, we will not abandon you, and we will never give up on you. We will help you deal with the practical, financial, and emotional implications. The Charter was developed with care experienced parents and is designed to make sure parents in and leaving care are well supported and treated fairly. For more details of our commitments, please visit our resources page on the Exchange Wales website.
So following on from our initial Charter work, like Louise mentioned, we set about promoting the Charter across Wales and wider. And I think it was during this process that we realised that the corporate parenting view, the public services, was much broader than just kind of children's social care. So with an awareness that not everybody had all of the knowledge and experience and hadn't perhaps worked as much with care experienced parents themselves, we felt that doing something that could highlight some key messages or key scenarios from care experienced parents would be really valuable to really bring the charter alive and bring some of those experiences to life for the people that we were talking to and the people that perhaps would be working with the parents. So thinking broader than children's services, so the health and education and housing and that sort of thing. So we set out to develop some new resources that we called key messages, but similar to the charter, not really knowing what that would look like at the beginning, being really clear that we wanted to develop these things with parents themselves so that it really reflected their experience and the scenarios and the journeys that they felt that was really important to share. So for this part of the project, which has been kind of this last year, we worked again with Voices from Care Cymru. We worked with the NIAS Project Unity, a group of parents there, but new to this work that we were doing was the Hertfordshire Ohana group, and it was really great to bring in some different voices as well and work with some different parents. So we worked across 6 sessions. We worked with each group twice, initially kind of consulting the charter and looking at that, and then building each time on messages and ideas that we could develop into the key messages that we're actually going to launch today. So we haven't shared these anywhere yet. This is brand new resources that we hope will really enhance some of the conversations and some of the messages that we can share with corporate parents and wider from this work that we've done. So thank you. But we started working with the Ohana group, which is in Hertfordshire in England. And actually, as we hadn't worked with them before, when we first started sharing what we were doing and the reasons behind it, and sharing all of the materials around the charter that Louise has just shown you first, we felt it was really important to capture their initial feedback and their ideas and thoughts on what we were talking about. So we've got some quotes here that the group have very kindly shared with us that we'd like to present, that feedback on how important they think this this work is and what they hope to see changed, and what are the key messages from them before we share the ones that we've developed. So the first quote is, "They want more support. As a care leaver, I want to be seen as a parent first and a care leaver second. Consider me a parent, not as a child or a young parent that has suffered trauma." So really centrally thinking of them in a different way. More support to help me secure housing. So again, like I was saying before, so thinking wider about the corporate parent remit, and bringing in all the different areas and different services. More support groups needed that offer support for care leavers. So picking up on what Louise said earlier about how actually we've seen quite a lot of progress in this area since she initially did her project. And it's some of these kind of peer support groups, particularly that we've been consulting with to develop these, but this is clearly really important for the parents. And the final one is honesty. Tell me the situation. So having everyone's cards on the table and having that transparency with what's happening. So from here, these are our kind of new resources that we're launching today, and things that we hope would be useful and can really have an impact. So the first message, we've got 7. So the first one you can see here is we should get the chance to celebrate our pregnancy. So some parents found it difficult to celebrate their pregnancy because they felt surrounded by negativity or judgment from their corporate parents. So they felt it was important to have opportunities to celebrate and look forward to a positive future. So the second one, remember I need support too. So some parents felt that all of the attention and support was focused on their baby, and that they'd been forgotten about. So parents want their corporate parents to remember to consider their rights, needs and wishes as well. The third one, who can I call in the middle of the night? Some parents felt on their own and didn't know who they could call for reassurance and advice. Some parents felt it was important for their corporate parents to check in and, if necessary, kind of develop a plan for who could help them, thinking specifically about out of hours, so out of office hours, so like this one, in the middle of the night. Don't add extra pressure. So some parents felt that they were being put under additional pressure with the involvement of so many services and professionals. Parents felt it was important that their corporate parents were mindful that becoming a new parent can be overwhelming for anyone, regardless of their care experience, and to consider their well-being. See me as I am. So some parents felt that they were being unfairly judged based on their family history and past behaviour. So they felt it was important that corporate parents see them as they are now, to recognise the change and the growth and acknowledge the strength and resilience that they have. Support me, don't scrutinise me. Some parents felt that professionals were monitoring and scrutinising them rather than offering the support that they needed. So they felt it was important for corporate parents to build relationships and to offer advice and guidance rather than judgment. And finally, help me thrive, not just survive. Some parents felt that stigma and poor support really held them back. And they felt that with the right support from their corporate parents, they could thrive as parents and also reach their full potential. So all of these new resources will be added to the page that Louise has already shared, where we've got everything up already. So for example, we've got all the different versions of the charter. So that's the paper copy that Louise mentioned, the illustrated leaflet that we hope could be useful to use with parents, the slightly condensed version, which is a poster. There's also a link to Louise's book there if anybody would be interested in reading a bit more and going in depth into some of the research that came up, or perhaps just reading the last part of the book, which is a letter directly from a parent that has been involved throughout all of these projects. Both of the short films that we've shown today are on that website. There's a number of blogs. And there is a podcast from when we originally launched the charter, with Louise and I interviewing the third sector organisations that partnered with us at the time, as well as two of the parents that were crucial to developing the charter. There's also a webinar of Louise and I talking about the charter work more broadly, and the map that Louise mentioned. There is also the opportunity to give a little bit of feedback there. So if you have been using any of our resources or looking at the charter, we would really appreciate any feedback that you'd be happy to share. We'd be open to all of that. And then finally, just to say that we're always happy to come and talk to anybody about any of the things that we've done. We could talk all day, so you might want to give us a time limit on that. We're also happy to come out or come to your local area and help you think about how you might use the charter and how you can adapt it to better suit your area and the needs of your service. All of the resources are free, and we just really hope that you find them useful. So thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody.